Iowa football finally with some good news. Tight end ERICK has hopped on the black and gold bus. Tight end from Michigan, a guy who starred last year with Iowa's new quarterback, Cade McNamara. We'll get to the big news in a moment. First, want to tell you about Under the Kitchen, Randy Engel. Great Hawkeye artwork. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook for more details. Iowa floor covering. They've got this tough core click together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring available right now at $269 per foot with self-installation. Visit iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. They are located right down in Bondurant. And Ascent Nutrition, their Ascent coffee. It's premium, mold and mycotoxin free stuff. Visit goascentnutrition.com. Use the code Hawkeyes at checkout to receive 15% off your order, whether it's coffee or one of their many other great health products. Again, goascentnutrition.com. Use that code Hawkeyes. So the big news on this Wednesday, tight end ERICK commits to Iowa. Certainly wouldn't call this a surprise. Tight end is obviously a position that Iowa has excelled at developing over recent years. And I think comes in not really needing a ton of development, right? I mean, he had a big year in 2021 with Cade McNamara at quarterback. His season was cut short this year due to a back injury. He actually is coming off a back surgery. So, I mean, a little bit of uncertainty there. Of course, his quarterback, Cade McNamara, is coming off knee surgery. So, yeah, I mean, there's reason for pause at least. I mean, you obviously want to see those guys fully healthy, right? So we'll assume that they'll get there, and will they be able to participate in spring practice? That's a question mark. But just a huge get for Iowa. ERICK was considered a pretty decent NFL prospect prior to getting hurt earlier this year. Now, let's not forget Schoonmaker, Michigan star tight end, also was going to take away some targets from So, I mean, this kid is legitimate. If you look at his high school recruiting page, 247 Sports rated him as a 4-star prospect, had offers from a number of schools. Again, a kid that goes to Michigan, plays pretty early in his career. No surprise that he could have went a lot of places. Michigan, of course, offering. Iowa offered out of high school, Kentucky, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and a number of other Power 5 schools. So Iowa kind of had a couple different inroads to ERICK, one being the Cade McNamara connection, and then two, of course, Iowa recruiting him back in that 2019 class. He's around 6'4", 225. He'll be a good complement to Luke Lachey. Now, who is tight end 1, who is tight end 2? You know, people have already went to social media to compare the 2023 tight end outlook to the Hawkinson-Fant year, or years, I should say, 2017, 2018. I would, again, pull back the reins just a tad. And the reason I say that is, let's not forget, Iowa had an absolute stud at tight end this year, Sam Laporta and Luke Lachey. And certainly those two guys together did not equal what Hawkinson and Fant were. Now, Laporta was exceptional. In fact, he's going to go down from a stats perspective as one of the greatest tight ends to ever play at Iowa. But can Iowa use those two tight ends together? And of course, we're talking Lachey and next year with a better quarterback, right? And you assume maybe some changes with schematics. Will they get a change at OC? Again, I've questioned that here in recent days. But these are two guys who, Lachey and who certainly have the potential to both be NFL guys here in a couple of years. Does have 2 years remaining. He could have 3 if he were to apply for a medical hardship waiver, just like Cade McNamara. But just like McNamara, I would doubt that happens. That would be 7 years in school, and I would guess that ERICK wants to play in the league. As long as his back is in shape, then he's probably going to have a chance to go pro after this year. Frankly, maybe we get him for 2. I would guess he's here for 1, as long as things go as expected and on schedule. But just a huge get. Let's not forget Cade McNamara, his chemistry with Cade McNamara is coming to a whole new team. So those people out there who have been skeptical about Iowa going to the portal at quarterback in the past, because, you know, you're bringing in a guy from a different team and a different program and a different system and culture and trying to integrate him into the Iowa way. Well, here's a guy who's going to automatically be a safety blanket for Cade McNamara. That is huge, folks. We can talk about recruiting implications all we want, but the fact that Cade McNamara will have a target he's comfortable with, one of his top targets, no question about it, one of his top targets in 2021, that is massive. And you know that he'll gain chemistry with Lachey. But let's assume that McNamara is not a full participant in spring practice. that limits your ability to gain some chemistry with guys like Lachey. So he'll already have this with all, whether he plays in spring or not. Now, as a frame of reference to compare seasons, Michigan's offense certainly more conducive to better passing numbers, but he's also had some competition at tight end. In 2021, Erick All caught 38 passes for 437 yards, an average of 11.5 per catch. Compare that to Sam Laporta this year. Laporta had 53 receptions for a little over 600 yards, 11.3 yards per catch. So pretty comparable, honestly. Pretty comparable. Now, Laporta played in less games in 2022 than All did in 2021. But again, there was no shortage of targets for McNamara last year in the Michigan offense. There was a shortage of targets this year, at least a shortage of targets that Petrus was comfortable throwing to. And again, look at the quarterback difference. No question the production is there, and the NFL scouts like this kid, assuming he can get healthy. Now, I do want to read you the message that Erick All left for Wolverine fans prior to entering the portal back on December 5th. This is what he said. It's kind of an interesting comment here. Wolverine Nation, love you guys, but it's time for me to move on. I know some of you are wondering why I would leave, and the answer to that question is unexpected. Not everything, everyone are what they seem, and I learned that from my time here at Michigan. Sometimes you have to let go and do what's best for you and your family. Love you guys. Go Blue. Interesting comment from All. So maybe some saltiness for whatever reason. You know, what happened behind closed doors. I've talked in recent days and weeks about some of the struggles I think Keegan Johnson went through during his injury process and recovery and rehab. I'm not saying that that's, you know, reminiscent of Erick All's situation, but when guys get hurt, I mean, that's tough. That's adversity, and you're no longer the centerpiece, the fixture of your team, your offense when you're out rehabbing. People don't care about you as much, unfortunately, or at least that's the feeling that some athletes get in those situations. So perhaps a breath of fresh air for Erick All, not only to go play with his quarterback, Cade McNamara, to get out of Michigan, and then potentially be able to launch his career from here, because Iowa has, of course, had a great history. We talked about Fant, Hawkinson, Kittle. Laporta is going to be another NFL tight end. Great history of tight ends here. Regardless of what you have to say about the Iowa offense and the Iowa passing game, Erick All will have a chance to launch his career moving forward with this move. Not that he wouldn't have at Michigan, but obviously maybe some better opportunity here. Schoonmaker has been terrific at Michigan, and I don't know what his plans are if he's got another year as well if he wants it, but he may jump to the league. So All needed a change, and Iowa certainly welcoming him with open arms. Remember, Erick All and Cade McNamara were both at the Iowa State basketball game here last week in Carver Hawkeye Arena. So successful visit. I guess we would assume successful visit because they got both of those guys. And of course, Ernest Hausman, the other kid that was there, linebacker from Nebraska. Not sure where that recruitment's at right now, but this is good news, folks. And the only question I have as a result of this, and you may say, well, who cares? Well, it's consequential. The only transfer that Iowa got last year in the portal was a tight end, Steven Stilianos out of Lafayette, who didn't play much this year, played a little bit, all right, mostly in goal line formations. What happens with him now? He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. Does he jump back into the portal? It's unfortunate for Steven Stilianos. I don't know what's happened behind closed doors, but you know, he jumped from Lafayette to Iowa and conceivably had a chance to be tight end 2 next year, and it looks like that's not going to happen barring some injury. So maybe he goes back into the portal. We'll just wait and see.